because this story about power, corruption, and the consequences of abusing public trust deserves to reach everyone who needs to understand that no badge, no matter how heroic, places anyone above the law. It's a cold Tuesday morning in March, and Providence Municipal Court is preparing for another session. At exactly 10:15 a.m., the courtroom doors swing wide with authority. In strides Fire Chief Daniel Morrison, and this man doesn't just walk into a room, he commands it. Morrison is 42 years old, standing 6'2" with the build of someone who still trains like he's fighting fires on the front lines. His Providence Fire Department dress uniform is immaculate, every crease razor sharp, every button polished to a mirror shine. Across his chest, 5 rows of service ribbons tell the story of 2 decades of firefighting, including 3 life-saving medals that catch the courtroom lights. But it's not just the uniform that commands attention. It's Morrison's posture, shoulders pulled back, chin elevated just slightly too high, hands swinging with practiced authority. On his left hip, clearly visible, is his fire department badge, positioned prominently like a shield against accountability. His face carries the weathered confidence of a man who's used to being called a hero, and when he removes his fire chief's cap, his movements are precise, deliberate, but not humble. As he approaches the defendant's stand, Morrison strides with the bearing of someone who believes this is all a formality. Each step of his polished leather shoes clicks authoritatively against the courtroom floor, announcing his presence. What Morrison doesn't realize is that he's about to face Judge Frank Caprio, who has handled over 400,000 cases in his 35 years on the bench and can spot abuse of authority from across a crowded courtroom. But here's what nobody knows yet. This case isn't really about a parking violation. It's about a pattern of behavior that the Providence Fire Department has been quietly trying to address for months. Deputy Chief Maria Santos has quietly slipped into the back row to watch her boss's hearing, concerned about what she knows is coming. Chief Morrison, the court clerk announces. Chief Daniel Morrison, violation of Rhode Island General Law, Title 31, Section 27 to 19, unauthorized use of emergency vehicle. Morrison steps forward casually, resting one hand on the defendant's stand like he's claiming territory rather than answering charges. Judge Caprio looks up with those experienced eyes that have learned to read people in the first 3 seconds. He sees Morrison's posture, the displayed badges, the subtle arrogance. Chief Morrison, Judge Caprio begins. You're charged with parking a fire department vehicle, SUV 3, assigned to your office, in a no-parking zone on Benefit Street on February 28th at 2:47 p.m. The fine is $85. How do you plead? What happens next makes the court clerk's fingers freeze. Your Honor. Morrison begins with condescension barely concealed. I'm pleading not guilty because this citation represents a fundamental misunderstanding of fire department operational protocols and the authority granted to command-level personnel under Emergency Services Statute 2328(6). Judge Caprio sets down his pen slowly, that gesture that signals someone has just made a serious miscalculation. Chief Morrison, were you responding to an emergency at the time? Your Honor. Fire chiefs maintain constant operational readiness. We don't simply respond to emergencies. We prevent them through strategic positioning. It's a concept that requires understanding emergency management complexities. The subtle condescension hangs in the air. Judge Caprio's eyes narrow slightly. Chief Morrison, were you at 2:47 p.m. actively responding to a fire, medical emergency, or any situation requiring immediate emergency response? Morrison's jaw tightens, the first crack in his confidence. Your Honor, I was conducting official fire department business. Official business? Can you describe the nature of this business? I was meeting with a city official regarding fire safety compliance. I see. And which city official were you meeting with? Morrison hesitates, barely half a second, but Caprio catches it. That's a private matter, Your Honor. I don't see how it's relevant. Morrison has just told a judge that he doesn't get to determine relevance in his own courtroom. Actually, Chief Morrison, what's relevant in my courtroom is determined by me. Now, official government business isn't private. Which city official were you meeting with? Morrison's hands grip the railing now. Your Honor, I believe my meeting schedule falls under executive confidentiality. Executive confidentiality. Judge Caprio repeats slowly. Chief Morrison, you're not the president, you're a municipal fire chief. Either this was official business, in which case you can tell me who you met, or it was personal, in which case you had no authorization to use a city vehicle. Which is it? And guys, if you're feeling the tension building, if you sense Morrison walked into a trap, hit that like button now. Because what Judge Caprio discovers next will expose a scandal reaching into the highest levels of Providence government. Morrison's face flushes. Your Honor, I resent the implication. I've served this city for 20 years. I've saved lives. I have 3 life-saving medals and commendations from 5 mayors. I think my record speaks to my character. Morrison has pulled the hero card, suggesting past service should exempt him from current accountability. Chief Morrison, Judge Caprio, says like a disappointed father, your service record is admirable, but your medals don't answer why you were parked illegally on Benefit Street at 2:47 p.m. Who were you meeting with? The silence stretches. Morrison looks around, his eyes briefly meeting Deputy Chief Santos in the back row. What he sees there, embarrassment and resignation, deflates him. Your Honor, I'd prefer not to disclose. So you're refusing to answer. That's not what I meant. Then answer the question, Chief. The meeting was personal in nature, so it wasn't official business? Not in the technical sense, but as Fire Chief, I maintain relationships that benefit the department. Even when not conducting specific business, I'm always representing the department's interests. So let me understand, you took a city vehicle for personal business, but argue that because you're always representing the department, your personal business counts as official. Is that correct? Morrison hears his logic repeated in plain language and realizes the absurdity. Your Honor, you're oversimplifying. No, Chief, I'm clarifying, but I'll give you one more chance. Where on Benefit Street were you parked, and who were you visiting? Morrison knows he's trapped. I was parked outside 247 Benefit Street, and who resides there? The question lands like a bomb, because Caprio clearly already knows. Sarah Castellano. And who is Sarah Castellano? She's the wife of Councilman Robert Castellano. The courtroom explodes, people turning to each other, whispering urgently. Deputy Chief Santos drops her head into her hands. The court clerk's mouth falls open. Judge Caprio lets the moment breathe. So to be clear, at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, you took a city vehicle, told your office you were conducting official business, and drove to a city councilman's wife's private residence. Correct? Yes, Your Honor. And what was the nature of your visit? I don't see how that's relevant to parking. Chief Morrison, you've argued your city vehicle use was justified because of city business. Now I'm asking what that business was. Either answer or admit you were using city resources for unauthorized purposes.